My name is Blair. I'm with Waypoint Community Church. I'm glad you're here. Over the next few weeks, we're going to release some videos on a topic that I've never taught on before. I've had lots of conversations with people, sometimes in a restaurant or a home, and the topic is, how do I parent adult kids? I've never been asked that question. The way this comes up is often it gets expressed as exasperation. They're trying to figure out how to relate with each other now that they've entered a new stage. Sometimes a real lack of hope is being expressed because they've watched this kid whom they love and care about start making decisions that they think are going in the wrong direction, and they don't know what to do to stop it. I've heard parents say stuff like, I'm still their parent. It doesn't matter that they've moved out. I still feel a burden for them. And I think that's true. I think there's a huge reservoir of love and compassion that we as parents will always have for our kids. But there is a phase of parenting that you're transitioning to, the final phase of parenting that we're going to call peer-to-peer relationship, that you've got to prepare for. And sometimes it happens naturally because that kid matures and they step into that peer-to-peer relationship and it just seems natural. And other times they end up there just because they're that age. They have the age to have the responsibility, and they start using that responsibility, but it's done so poorly that they start making a mess. And we see that happening, and so we react to that, and we almost think to ourselves, I guess they're not really adults. We sometimes feel that way about the mature ones. They make choices that we don't like, and we think they're not adults, they're pre-adults. And so we start treating them differently than the final stage of parenting, and it causes all kinds of problems. The scriptures say, train up a child in the way they should go. And we kind of hold it as a promise because it says when they get old, they won't depart from it. And we get frustrated when we see that not happening sometimes. Like, why is this not working? I trained them a certain way, but they're not doing what I thought they would do. And I think there's some misunderstanding about this scripture. If you went back and you translated it, it would say something like, create a hunger in your child, and when they grow old, they will not depart from it. And I think there's a way that we create a hunger in our kids, and it takes them through the process of parenting all the way to the final stage. But I just want to make sure that you understand the different stages, because in that healthy process, you do some really important things. So that kid is born, and the first stage of parenting starts where I call it do as I say. They don't know anything. They don't know what's dangerous. They don't know understand consequences. They don't know anything. And so it's appropriate for you to say, because I said so, just do it. And they have to do that for their own safety because they don't understand things. And so it's appropriate as parents to do that sort of stuff, and it's hard because they still have a little will and they don't understand what's going on and they still want to do their own thing, but you have to demand that they do things a certain way. But don't worry, it won't take long. They're going to start asking questions, and this moves to the second phase of parenting that I'm just going to label why. To ask you why about everything. Why are you doing this? Why do I have to do it that way? Why are we doing this? And I've heard parents express frustration that their kids are asking them why so much, and I don't fully understand it because this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to start creating a hunger in them for wisdom. Tell them why. Give them your reasoning. Help them understand that there's purpose behind what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think sometimes the reason parents don't like that question is because they don't have a good answer to the reason why. And so they go back and they say, because I said so, and that's enough. And at some point, some parents never stop because I said so phase. They go through all of life with a because I said so phase, and you're making a mistake because you could create a hunger in them. And the reason you need to create a hunger in them for wisdom is because you're going to eventually get to the third stage, which I'm going to call values. And it's no longer them asking you why, you're asking them why. Why would you make that choice? Why did you go out with your friends and do that? What would you do if you could? And you start to hear them explain the why. And in the process of that, you get to check their values. And when you hear things that you don't like, you get to say, no, that's not a value that I care about. That's not a value that we have as a family. This is the value that's really important. If you were to use that value and you go back, how would you answer why then? And that becomes the mechanism that you use to help them start to reason through and, again, desire to acquire wisdom, because they're now thinking through what they'll do. This becomes critically important that your kids are doing this by the time they're teens. They should be making value-based decisions at that point, because it will not be long before they will be making decisions on their own, face the responsibility of all those decisions on their own. And if they haven't been making value-based decisions, you're in trouble. Now, this is what happens, though. We get to a place where we could transition into peer-to-peer relationship, but we start watching our kids make mistakes. They start doing things that we necessarily wouldn't love or wouldn't do ourselves, and we conclude they're not adults, and so we revert back. And sometimes we go all the way back and we start treating them like, do as I say. And we tell them what to do and how to do it, and we harp on. Sometimes we revert back and we go, they don't have our values. I've got to force my values in here. And so you kind of press your value in there, and you demand that they listen to you. And they accept what your value is, except here's the problem. As adults, they don't have to listen to you anymore. And so when you revert back to all of those other styles of parenting, those other transitional times, all it does is it puts the relationship on pins and needles. And they start wondering whether they should actually listen to you or not. But here's the thing. All you have left when you get to peer-to-peer relationship is influence. We're going to talk about that next week. But if you sacrifice influence by going back and picking other parenting styles up, you'll never get to a place where you can actually influence them over the long term, and they'll reject what you have to say. So I want you to go and just look at how you're relating with each other right now. Are you using one of those early parenting styles, or have you got to a place where you feel like, no, we're peer-to-peer, and there's just some other stuff that's going on that's difficult? And I hope maybe the next few weeks will help you evaluate that.